where the gaps in terms of preparedness are, but the financing has not materialized. So going forward, I think the world has learned its lessons. We will make sure that the assessments are done again, revised, gaps are identified, and plans are prepared, and finance those plans. They shouldn't end up in shelves. Finance these plans and make sure that countries are better prepared to fight, to finish the current one, but to prepare for the next epidemic which may happen, because we are still vulnerable.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros. For this next question comes from John Zaracostas. John, can you please unmute?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, good afternoon. My question is to the professor and also perhaps to the Director General. You just mentioned earlier, sir, that you'll be following the principles of the FENSA. I was wondering, will your MOU also require you to register as other foundations under the FENSA and be subject to the FENSA scrutiny as all the other charities and foundations and non-state actors participating in WHO?
Well, thank you very much. I mean, you may know, and some may know, that I have been working actually at the FENSA regulations in another capacity. And we will, you know, our basis now is the Memorandum of Understanding between WHO and the Foundation. The Foundation remains actually an independent legal entity, and WHO and the independent legal entity are linked by this contract we just signed. And this contract can always be withdrawn from WHO if they feel that the foundation is not working appropriately. In that respect, the relation between the foundation and WHO is a very different one from what we call, you know, engagement of non-state actors. That's the reason why we think that we do not have the same legal quality as a non-state actor.
Thank you very much, Professor. Now we will try to go back to Divya from Economic Times of India. Divya, are we having a better luck now?
Hi.
Yes.
My name is Divya Rajgopal from the Economic Times newspaper. I wanted to check if there's a solidarity trial being planned for vaccines on the similar lines as the solidarity drug trial. Thank you.
At this stage, there are no specific vaccine trials planned, but the WHO approach is to develop standard protocols for vaccine trials, which will allow our member states to effectively put in place the means to carry out their own trials using various vaccine products, either products from their own country or from other countries. So it puts our member states back in the central position in defining, number one, the need for trials, the carrying out of those trials, the regulatory and ethical process around the delivery of those trials. Taking this approach will allow countries to have comparable data, to have standardized approaches, and for WHO to invest in the necessary data safety monitoring boards and oversight mechanisms and the technical, operational and scientific inputs to ensure that those trials are of the highest possible quality. So at this stage there are no trials planned, but it will proceed in the same way that we've proceeded with the solidarity trials for drugs, by involving countries, by involving scientific institutions in as many countries as possible, and thereby democratizing the process and giving countries access to the scientific knowledge, the technical platforms to be able to test vaccines on their own terms within their own countries.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ryan. Let's try to take a question from Will from CNBC. Will, can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Great. I believe it was Monday that the WHO suspended the global solidarity trial of hydroxychloroquine. President Trump previously said that he was taking hydroxychloroquine to prevent infection of COVID-19 as a precaution. He's since stopped taking it, but my question for the WHO is whether that's advisable for world leaders to be taking hydroxychloroquine to prevent the infection of COVID-19.
Thank you. WHO has, we've said this at a previous press conference, but I think it's worth repeating. We do not advise the use of hydroxychloroquine or chloroquine for the treatment of COVID-19 outside randomized controlled trials or under appropriate close clinical supervision subject to whatever national regulatory authorities have decided. So in some countries, national regulatory authorities have allowed the use of the drug under close clinical supervision. From that perspective, I think WHO's advice on this is clear. As you will have noted from previous press conferences, we've temporarily halted the randomization of patients into the hydroxychloroquine arm of the Solidarity trials, while we, with an abundance of caution, just check on the safety issues around the drug and ensure that we can hopefully continue at that once those checks have been done. Important again to reiterate that these drugs are extremely useful drugs in the treatment and life-saving drugs in the treatment of other diseases, particularly lupus and malaria as a primary use and other autoimmune disorders. It's extremely important that people on those drugs and under the appropriate clinical supervision are continuing to take their prescribed medication and continue to have access to that medication. The concern regarding hydroxychloroquine and chloroquine refers specifically to the use of this drug in the treatment of COVID-19 patients. And as we said, there is no empirical evidence that at this point that these drugs work in this case, either for treatment or for prophylaxis. But again, we look forward to the outcomes of the trials when they are completed.
If I could add, I won't speak to the specific questions about chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine, but just to say that WHO has released updated clinical guidance today. And this is a very detailed document which is aimed at medical professionals and ministries of health to advise on how to care for patients who are infected with COVID-19, whether it's mild for symptomatic treatment, whether they have pneumonia, whether they have a severe disease or septic shock. And it's quite detailed, and I just thought it would be a good opportunity to mention that this will be posted today if it's not posted already right now. But it is important that anyone that is seeking treatment seeks that treatment with the advice of their doctors. And so while we are able to put out this guidance based on the latest evidence that we have, and as Mike has said, we don't have any specific treatments yet, but these clinical trials are underway. There is advice that we do provide for ministries of health and medical professionals all over the world.
Thank you very much. We have time for one or two more questions, so let's go to Agence France Presse, Agnès Pedrero. Agnès?
Yes, hello, do you hear me?
Yes.
Bonsoir, je vais poser la...
Good evening. I'd like to ask my question in French. Thank you for giving me the floor. I wanted to know, it's a question for the WHO. I'd like to know what you think about the theory of crossed immunity with other coronaviruses, which could protect against the SARS-CoV-2. This was a hypothesis that came up recently with American researchers. I would like to know what you think of this theory.
Maria will give you a more detailed answer as to the cross-protection of other coronavirus infections with regard to COVID-19. There is certainly some evidence with regard to T cells that if you have a previous coronavirus infection, you may be able to mount a more rapid response to COVID-19, but there is no empirical evidence that previous coronavirus infections protect you from infection with COVID-19. The jury is still very much out on that, but it is interesting to note that at least in some of the studies, that if we're getting a more broad-based T-cell response, there's more hope then for vaccines and others producing a more long-term immune response. So for me, this information is very important. It gives us hope that we're getting the kinds of immune responses that may be helpful for long-term protection, and may also mean that vaccines have a broader protection. But Maria may have more technical detail on the cross-protection issues, because much experience with SARS and MERS and other coronavirus.
Thanks, Mike. So yes, no, I mean, this is welcomed news to see this type of research and to see that there are specific studies that are looking at a T-cell response. There are a number of assays that are out there that are looking at the immune response, measuring, different elements of that immune response, including neutralizing antibodies, T-cell response. Most of the serologic assays that are commercially available are not looking at a T-cell response. They're looking at IgM, IgG, not even neutralizing antibodies. The assays that can do that are more specialized labs. And so what WHO is doing in our support for seroepidemiology globally to really understand the immune response, to understand the extent of infection, is three different things. One is we are working with collaborating laboratories globally who have experiences with coronaviruses and with FIND to evaluate the serologic assays that are out there, that are available. How well do they work? What are they measuring, and how well do they measure that? And that is something that is ongoing. You've heard me speak about before. The second thing that we're doing is we are working with several researchers globally and also NIBSC in the UK to develop an international serum panel, which we have recently shipped to a number of labs across the globe to be able to validate and evaluate the assays that are out there, and to come up with a standardized serologic assay. Again, that is also in development. And the third thing that we're doing is we've provided these core protocols, similar to the core protocol that we have for the Solidarity trial. These are for seroepidemiologic investigations. And we're working with countries to look at the extent of infection as measured by these antibodies. From the available studies that we have, there's 2 published studies, and there's more than 20 that are available in preprint, and many we've received some results through press release. We haven't fully been able to evaluate the assays. And one of the important things is to look at the cross-reactivity with other coronaviruses and see if that is a factor in the immune response that people have. So this is something that is under development. But yes, so the results from the T-cell is welcomed news, and we know that there are a number of labs that are additionally looking at that as well.
Thank you very much for this. We will conclude this press briefing here with a special thanks to our special guest, Professor Zeltner. We will have an audio file sent to you very soon, and transcript will be posted tomorrow, as well as a number of announcements and news from different WHO regions and country offices. I wish everyone a very nice evening.
Thank you, Tariq, and thank you, Professor, for joining us, and thank you to all online who have joined today. Thank you so much. See you on Friday.
Hello everyone from WHO headquarters here in Geneva. My name is Tariq, and I welcome you for a regular press conference on COVID-19. Welcome to everyone watching us on a number of WHO social media platforms, and to all journalists who are following us on Zoom. Journalists who are online have the possibility to listen this briefing with simultaneous interpretation in 6 UN languages, plus Portuguese, plus Hindi. Journalists also may ask their questions in those 6 languages plus Portuguese. Today with us we have Director General Dr. Tedros, we have Dr. Maria Van Kerkhove, we have Dr. Mike Ryan, and we have our special guest, Professor Thomas Zeltner, that Director General will introduce in more details. Before I give a floor to Dr. Tedros, I would just like to thank the interpreters who are with us here today, and also to ask journalists who want to ask questions to raise hand, and that's why they will be put in line. And I will remind everyone that we would like to have concise questions and 1 question per journalist. And now I will give the floor to Dr. Tedros.
Thank you, Tariq. Tariq didn't join us on Monday because it was his birthday. So happy birthday for Monday for Tariq. Thank you, Tariq. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Yesterday, 40 million health professionals sent a letter to the leaders of each of the G20 nations calling for a healthy and green recovery from COVID-19. I fully support this. The human cost of COVID-19 has been devastating, and the so-called lockdown measures have turned lives upside down. But the pandemic has given us a glimpse of what our world could look like if we took the bold steps that are needed to curb climate change and air pollution. Our air and water can be cleaner, our streets can be quieter and safer, and many of us have found new ways to work while spending more time with our families. Yesterday, WHO published our manifesto for a green and healthy recovery from COVID-19 with 6 simple prescriptions. First, protect nature, which is the source of the air, water, and food on which human health depends. Second, ensure that homes and health facilities have water and sanitation, access to clean and reliable energy, and are resilient to climate change. Third, invest in a quick transition to clean energy that will cut air pollution, so that when COVID-19 has been defeated, people can breathe clean air. Fourth, promote healthy and sustainable food systems to give people access to healthy and affordable food. Fifth, build cities that integrate health into all aspects of urban planning, from sustainable transport systems to healthy housing. And sixth, stop subsidizing fossil fuels that cause pollution and drive climate change. As some countries start to reopen their societies and economies, the question we must answer is whether we will just return to the way things were, or whether we will learn the lessons the pandemic is teaching us about our relationship with our planet. Building back better means building back greener. When I started as Director General almost 3 years ago, one of the first things I did was to put out a call to all staff to contribute ideas for how to transform WHO and make it more effective. And I was asking many of my colleagues, saying, please generate crazy ideas to transform our organization. One of the ways I did that was by instituting open hour, where any staff member can come to talk to me about any issue they want every Thursday afternoon. These ideas became the basis of the transformation process we have been implementing over the past few years, and I would like to use this opportunity to thank all staff who contributed their ideas that are now changing the face of WHO. At one of the first meetings, a staff member proposed the creation of a WHO foundation. The idea was to establish a way to generate funding for WHO from sources we haven't tapped before, including the general public. Until now, WHO has been one of the few international organizations which has not received donations from the general public. I immediately recognized the enormous potential in this idea, thanks to the staff who suggested this idea. It's well documented that one of the greatest threats to WHO success is the fact that less than 20% of our budget comes in the form of flexible assessed contribution from member states, while more than 80% is voluntary contributions from member states and other donors, which are usually tightly earmarked for specific programs. In effect, that means WHO has little discretion over the way it spends its funds, almost 80% of its funds. We have been working hard to encourage member states to increase the proportion of flexible funds they give us. And we are very grateful for those countries that have given us greater flexibility in recent years. And there is improvement. But for WHO to fulfill its mission and mandate, there is a clear need to broaden our donor base and to improve both the quantity and quality of funding we receive, meaning more flexible funding. Since February 2018, we have been hard at work supporting the establishment of the WHO Foundation, and today, after hard work of 2 years, more than 2 years, it gives us enormous pleasure to launch it officially, to launch the WHO Foundation. This is a historic step for WHO as an integral part of our resource mobilization strategy to broaden the contributor base. The WHO Foundation was not ready to launch when the COVID-19 pandemic began. So with the support of the United Nations Foundation, the Swiss Philanthropy Foundation, and several other partners, we launched the COVID-19 Solidarity Response Fund. In just 2.5 months, this fund has raised more than $214 million from more than 400,000 individuals and companies, including $55 million from the One World Together at Home virtual concert. These funds have been used to buy lab diagnostics, personal protective equipment, and to fund research and development, including for vaccines. The Solidarity Response Fund is powerful proof of concept for the WHO Foundation. To further promote the Solidarity Response Fund, WHO has partnered with the Animation Studio Illumination to launch a public service announcement today aimed at children featuring the beloved animated characters, the Minions and Gru, voiced by the actor Steve Carell, to promote ways for people to stay safe from COVID-19. The Solidarity Response Fund will continue to receive donations to support WHO's work on COVID-19, while the WHO Foundation will help to fund all elements of WHO's work and be fully aligned with our priorities. It now gives me great pleasure to introduce Professor Thomas Zeltner, who is the founder and chair of the board of the WHO Foundation. Professor Zeltner is a Swiss physician and lawyer with a long and distinguished career in public health, including as the Director General of the National Health Authority and as Swiss Secretary of State for Health. Professor Zeltner, thank you for your support and collaboration over the past 18 months, and the floor is yours to speak about the new WHO Foundation which is being born today. Thank you, Professor.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Tedros, for welcoming me here in Geneva. And it's really an honor, and I'm very pleased to have the opportunity to speak on this topic today. It is important, and indeed a very important day. And I'm very thrilled to announce the formal creation of the WHO Foundation. What I will do is address in 5 key points briefly the the following points. First, what is the WHO Foundation? Secondly, why is it needed? Third, how will it make a difference? Fourth, what is the relation between the foundation and WHO? And finally, where are we today and what are the next steps? So let me start with first, what is the WHO Foundation? The foundation is an independent grant-making organization set up under Swiss law. Its primary mission is to address the most pressing global health challenges of today and tomorrow by raising significant new funding for WHO from non-traditional sources, and I stress that, from non-traditional sources. The foundation will work with individual major donors, with the general public, and with corporate partners to strengthen the global health ecosystem by supporting WHO's resource mobilization strategy, broaden WHO's donor base, and supporting its 5-year strategy, also known as the General Program of Work. Second, some may ask, why is this foundation needed? The creation of the foundation represents a truly innovative approach to diversify WHO's resource mobilization strategy. This new approach is clearly an urgent need, as illustrated by the tremendous response of the donation to the Covid-19 Solidarity Response Fund that Dr. Tedros just alluded and showed how important it is. While pandemic preparedness and response will also be one of the areas of the WHO Foundation, the Foundation's mission is much broader than this and will cover all areas of global public health in which WHO is working. We will do this by supporting global public health needs from a wide range, from prevention, mental health, to non-communicable diseases, to emergency preparedness, and to health system strengthening. 3. How will this foundation make a difference?
Tercero, ¿cómo puede marcar la diferencia esta fundación? La fundación servirá para fortalecer y completar, no suplir, sino completar el ecosistema de salud mundial, dando flexibilidad y permitiendo recibir las contribuciones y realizar esas becas. Habrá intervenciones dirigidas y orientadas por la OMS que se concentrará y también se concentrará en las actividades de alto impacto y en las alianzas. Queremos fortalecer la OMS, garantizar sincronización, apoyo, complementariedad, y eso lo haremos en todos los ámbitos. Toda la financiación de la Fundación de la OMS ayudará a aplicar el Programa General de Trabajo de la organización, de la OMS. Entre un 70 y un 80% de los fondos que recaudemos se destinarán directamente a la Secretaría de la OMS y el 20-30% restantes se usarán para mejorar, fortalecer la salud pública a nivel mundial, y se trabajará así con todos los.
What is the relation of the foundation with WHO? The foundation is an independent legal entity formed under the laws of Switzerland. The name is being licensed on a revocable basis in accordance with terms and conditions stipulated in an agreement between the WHO and the foundation. The foundation has been established, and that's a legal requirement, by me as a Swiss citizen in the canton of Geneva here, in close collaboration with WHO, and supported by an independent philanthropic consulting firm. WHO will maintain close links with the Foundation. In this regard, the Director General will designate a representative to attend the Board Foundation meetings as an observer. WHO also periodically will report to Member States on its interaction with the Foundation and funds received from it. All funding from the WHO Foundation to WHO will be fully aligned with the program budget decided by Member States and given as flexible and predictable as possible. The last point, what are the next steps for the Foundation? While we have established a possibility to receive donations right now under a new homepage, whofoundationproject.org, and I invite you to look at it and to feel free to donate. We currently are in the process of forming a secretariat for the Foundation and starting the search of a CEO. In addition, we are in the process of expanding the board to include prominent and diverse personalities from all WHO regions. I'm truly humbled and honored to be the founder of this initiative, and thank you, Dr. Tedros, very much for this opportunity, for your confidence and for all your support in launching this initiative, which has been in the making for 2 years, as you mentioned. I would also like to thank the advisory group that has helped us in establishing this foundation. Very much thank you, all members of this group. We very much look forward now to engage with individual major donors, with the general public and corporate partners to tailor partnerships with the ultimate goal of supporting SDG 3 to help future generations to overcome health challenges of today and to thrive tomorrow. WHO deserves a strong, independent external advocate who can support and strengthen its impact on in the global health ecosystem. And this foundation will do just that. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tedros and Professor Zeltner. Now, Professor Zeltner and Director General Dr. Tedros will sign the Memorandum of Understanding between WHO and WHO Foundation.
Many pages, huh?
Congratulations to both Professor Zeltner and to Director General for signing the Memorandum of Understanding between WHO and WHO Foundation. Thank you. And now we will start with our session with journalists on questions and answers. I will remind journalists that they can listen answers and they can ask their questions in 6 UN languages plus Portuguese, and they can also listen in Hindi, and we would like really, if possible, to have short and concise questions. So we would start first from our colleague based here in Geneva, Laurent Sierra from Swiss News. Laurent?
Yeah, thanks, Tariq. Can you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Thank you, and thank you for taking my question. A question to Dr. Tedros on the new foundation that was just launched. I know that it's an independent foundation, but given the recent tensions with the US on the funding of the organization, do you consider that as a model for future reforms of the funding structure of the organization in order to prevent in the future that one member state could jeopardize the efforts of the organization?
As I said earlier, this had started more than 2 years ago, and it came from one of our colleagues, actually. As I said, it was, I have this, what I call open door, open hour every Thursday in the afternoon, and our staff come and see me to tell me any ideas they have to improve our organization. As you know, for any organization to serve the people they serve better, they have to evolve regularly. And in WHO, we consider change as a constant. And that's why the staff anytime can come, not only 2-3 years ago, but even now they come every Thursday we have even started virtual now, to talk to me, to give me